Is it being recorded? Recording? Yes. Yes, it is. All right. Okay, so the first half of class last time we met was not recorded. I double checked the computers. I'm really sorry. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, but it wasn't there. So I'm going to use the beginning of class today to cover any questions you might have on the modular construction of the wall assets. While I was covering it, I think people were following along pretty well. So this is sort of the opportunity I can review anything that might have been kind of confusing for you. Because I've kicked the submission date, considering all of the ice closures and everything, right? Okay. So how far are we on the construction of those assets, which is the wall really? Yeah? You're figuring out the materials in Unreal. Okay. But it doesn't sound like you're hung up. You might have a question? Oh, okay. Okay. So the material setup, I think, was actually recorded, which is good. It was mostly the construction of the asset, like how to scale it in Maya and how to make it snap and fit in Unreal. So, what I can do is I can open Unreal and do a quick kind of maybe reverse engineering of that asset, kind of show how to stage it in Maya. But I mean, modeling a wall is not exactly difficult, but getting the scale is funky and weird. Yeah.
Could you show how you import it from Maya into there?
Yes, yes, I can do that. I love that. Woo, good, explicit question. Can I show how to import it from Maya into Unreal? Let's go to Maya. I'll open up the actual scene. Happily to do that.
I was having trouble getting both these sets into Substance Painter.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you have it in Substance Painter currently? Okay. All right. So I'll try to imagine everywhere that could get weird. Show you. Substance Painter. So, quick overview on doing the whole set, right? You first determine what your footprint will be, right? What scale or what sizes we're going to actually use in Unreal, right? That's step one. To do that well, I usually start with a project in Unreal. What did I use here? There we go, lighting demo. And I determine based off of Unreal's scale and how they actually, measure what they measure in the world, and then convert whatever I need to in Maya to that. So let's just take a quick overview of that. A single unit in Unreal is 1 meter. A single unit in Maya is 1 centimeter. So what you do is you scale up by 100 and then freeze your transforms. So 100 by 100 by 100 is now 1 in scale, right? Now, where that gets kind of funny is that you can decide if it's like 1 by 2 or 3 by 3, how you want to like determine your grid for your kit that you're essentially building. And we're building like a really small kit, a single wall, but the wall itself can be reused. So let's come over here too. Is this the lighting demo? Sure is. Where did I save this? There it is. The mail map, was that? Yeah, there we go. I was showing some stuff before. So right here is what I scaled in Maya, or I'm sorry, Unreal. If I were to pull in a single cube, right? That's correct. I think I'm going to do 3 by 3. 3, but you probably 0.25 or something. There we go. More or less. So I decided that the wall, just because I want to see a little bit better, I'm going to do some backlighting. There we go. I decided that the wall would be 3 by 3 on X and Y. And it looks like the depth of this would be 0.1. And this is approximately the same size and scale, right? Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Now, if in X, Y, and Z, right, we've got 3 by 0.1 by 3, What does that measure to in units in Maya? Now, the conversion is actually easy since it's a value of 100 between the two, right? So if I were to come into Maya and I was going to create the footprint or the basic starting off point of a piece, I would say with a cube, come here, cube. Right here. Let's put you at 200. And then the scale would be what, 300 by 10 by 300? Nope. No, Z is X and Y are 300 and 300. There we go. There we go.
So for the moment, is it 300?
Right.
meters?
Now, what I did is I converted it to match exactly what I wanted to fit in Unreal. But right now, this is still scaled 300 by 3. And so what I want this to now be is this asset to be scaled to 1 and to hold this form. That's really what we're doing. We're kind of controlling its original scale to now be what I need it to be. And so I'll freeze transform, well, almost put this back to 0. And also I want this to sit on top of the world, not be centered in the middle. And so I'm going to bring this, if it was 300, I'd need to move it up on the Y, a value of 150. There we go, like that. And now I'll freeze transforms. Boop. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and it holds true the form. This is this one wall scaled to 1. Correct. Good. Okay, that's probably the most mathy math part of this. Additional setup. I do prefer to take the pivot of this, hit D as in deputy doggy doodle. And we can now move the transform. I'm sorry, the pivot. And I prefer to move it to be about at the very corner here. Now, if we want this to be perfectly centered, hold down X and we can snap it to the grid. Make sure you check on all axes so that it is set to 0, right? And hit D again, and we're good. Good to go. This will make it really easy to just kind of snap and snappy, 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 snap in Unreal. Now, how you decorate your wall is all you. That is all your artistic prowess. So I'll leave you to that. And we can talk materials in a bit, but how do I very quickly set 2 material IDs to this so that you can actually access both of them in like Substance Painter or whatnot. So first off, let me kind of create a sort of metaphor of what I'm building here. What I want to do is I want this part to be wood and this part to be wallpaper. Okay, well, to the whole asset, oops, sorry, if you hold right click over the asset, you can look at the material parameters, right? Material attributes. If you just click material attributes, you can actually see what they are. And by default, you usually just get 1 per asset unless you've exported and imported from things like ZBrush, and then you had multiple subtools, and each one of those subtools had its own material, and then you messed up a bunch of stuff and you didn't know why. Like, it happens. But if we want to reset it, just hold down right click, click assign existing or create a new one. I usually do existing because I'm just setting a new, like a material ID to the whole thing. And then we'll select the faces that we actually want to be the next material. And per face, we assign a different existing material, right? And what I did in Maya is I made sure that in the material parameters here, that they were a slightly different color so that I could visualize them being 2 materials on here. And you can check that out by right-clicking, going to material attributes. And right over here, we can adjust the color. We can, right here. I made it lighter. It's just a different gray. Like, that's all I did. Okay, so let's say that this is now unwrapped beautifully and material, and you've modeled it gorgeous, right? To kind of get to your question, or what was at the heart of your question. That's all you actually have to do to assign the material IDs. If I am to export this, let's go to 0, File, Export Selection. Let's be wall simple. In Substance Painter, new, select. There it is. There's the guy I just made. Open. Okay. So they're both here, but you can't really tell them apart, right? In the texture set settings are the two materials that you have here. And they're going to respect the UVs of just those faces. So it will only render that material here in the UV channel or in the UV coordinate map on the right will only render that particular texture set. So this is actually where you find them. This is where you can also name them. So if this is the top, I would call this one wallpaper, or no, I'd call this one wood. I didn't unwrap it, so it's going to be bad, but I thought I can rename this. No. Texture set settings. There we go. Wood matte. This is going to be wallpaper matte, probably. Wallpaper, look at that. Yeah, garbage. And wood, also garbage. You're going to apply two materials. Does that clear it up for you? Wonderful. Okay. Good, good, good. Please make sure you're unwrapping your stuff before taking it to this step. I was just showing the material ID portion. Cool. Not to be confused with taking a very blasé attitude to how these walls are made. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, importing them into Unreal is the next question. The very same asset that you exported from Maya, the FBX, is what you bring into Unreal. So like a quick review of that. You have your model right here, and maybe I breezed through this a little bit because I forget myself sometimes. Go to File, Export Selection, but make sure you've only selected what you're exporting. This has been not so much an issue with later classes, such as this one, but it is a common mistake, and I think kind of a habit that gets picked up early on, so I kind of want to be clear about it, is that don't select everything and then hit Export Selected. Select only what you want to export. In this case, this QB wall that I just made. Hit then Export Selection, but it needs to be the object mode. Sometimes people will do stuff like this and then export everything, and I'll get objects from your curves that you might have used or other transforms that we haven't accidentally like deleted and frozen and deleted history on. So you want to be kind of tidy with what you're exporting. We only want the geometry, like nothing else, of the one asset. So that's this guy. Hit File, Export Selection, and make sure this is an FBX export. OBJ is fine as well, but what you do not want to do is add Maya files. Don't add Maya scenes, only FBXs or OBJs. FBX is considered a little bit more industry standard. It's what more people use. You can thank Autodesk for that. That's the actual long and short of it. But OBJs will be respected. Those are like you typically allowed. So we're going to do FBX for that. And there it is, the simple guy. I'm going to cancel that because I already exported it. And then in Unreal, when you have the project open, locate the folder and file location that you want to send that asset you just exported. In this case, I've got it under lighting demo and I've got the assets right there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab where I sent it, which is, I think desktop, because I'm a hot mess. There it is. Just go ahead and click and drag it right on in. If you're unsure, click reset to default, because that's all we really need, and import all. That's okay. That's okay. Don't panic. That's okay. Okay. And there's my wall. Now, it doesn't look like much of a wall, but I'm going to go ahead and delete these two materials because we don't want them. We're going to be way more optimized. We're going to use basically instances of the parent, right? Which I made earlier. I think that part did get recorded. I think so. And here we go, right? I've got wood, wallpaper. There it is. Just click and drag it right on. Easy breezy. if you want to look at it where it lives in the not inspector, but the details tab, you can see the two material IDs being applied to the mesh right here, right there. Now, Chris did have a kind of interesting question. I'm going to delete both of those, and I'm also going to delete my little simple mesh here. I don't want it. Don't want it. Had kind of a question about tiling materials here and the relationship of UVs, because Chris is very knowledgeable about film and he's kind of on a journey with us in 3D. So what I did here was I actually kind of made a wall with bad UVs to see why it's so important to control your UVs here. So if I apply this, I'm going to actually use the brick because I think we'll see it a little bit more, but I'll do both. We'll just do both. Here we go. All right, so like that looks pretty okay. But if I were to snap this, that doesn't tile very well, does it? Like this little tiling right here is kind of an issue. Now that can be more or less an issue depending on what kind of patterns we have here. Flat colors, really no big deal at all. But if we have something like brick, and I think in this case is what I use this guy right here. Let's go to brick. And then I try to tile this. Well, that's actually good. I think this is the bad one. I think so. Yeah, this is the bad one. It's actually pretty okay. Oh, there it is. Ooh, ooh. I mean, ew, look at that horrible scene right there. Gnarly. That's why is that happening? Well, this is the technical side of it. So while I don't need to, I think, show you how to edit your UVs, this has to do with you using the entirety of the UV coordinate map space. So let me take a look at this. Just a mal is what I called it. Wall mal. To here. Go, go, go. Double click this guy. You can actually take a look at your meshes in Unreal to see how some of the information is coming over. So if I look at the UV channels, I just want channel 1. Oh, that's wood. UV. This guy here, can you only show just the... Ew, it's not showing me the first one. Well, what I did was I took the wallpaper and I shrunk it in to fit inside. It's not doing a very good job showing that, but I think maybe I can duplicate that here. Panels, panel, UV editor, where I want move that over. This right here. What I did was this. I moved it from here to here. That's all I did. And that was enough to mess up the actual tiling, right? So that's why it's actually quite important that when you need something to tile appropriately, it goes all the way to a perfect 0 to perfect 1, so that it picks up right where it left off again as the material tiles itself. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Okay, so I hopefully that's a quick recap and enough to clarify anything that you might have had on your assignment. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of get some of those thoughts out since some of this was fresh for you. I'm going to pause the recording and then we're going to move on to what's next. So I think let's just for clarity's sake, the assignment I pushed out, the lighting assignment, well, we pushed out, to be due tonight at 10 p.m. And I kind of want to feel out how you guys are doing on that because I could only really cover a few minutes here. Let's see if I've got this. Tonight at 10 p.m. Do you need any more time as a general rule? I've already got a few submissions in. You got it in. Fantastic. You need more time? Okay. See anybody else? Okay, that's enough for me. I'll just kick it out. We'll do tomorrow at 10? Good. All right. That's the deal. But we're not gonna have much more time in class to work on this, so we're gonna move on to what's next. Don't worry, you're gonna have some, you're gonna have some lab time today that you'll be able to work on what you want, but just go ahead and take what I've just talked about into consideration. Okay, say about 20 minutes. We'll get back to it. Okay. Started recording. So I'm just double, triple checking everything. There we go. Let's scooch that down. Okay. All right, everybody. Go ahead and save your stuff, wrap up your thoughts, because we're going to move on to what's next. And you should have enough time to finish, and you'll have time in class continued after this. We're just going to cover a few things. But, well, we'll see, actually. We'll see how much time we have. Okay, so, everyone, we do have kind of a wicked schedule approaching. For context, we have no class a week from today because of Campus Community Day, right? What's that? And is there another one, or it's just my training? I think it's just my training after that. Tuesday on week 9. That's another one. Tuesday in week 9. So, what we're gonna, So what we're gonna do is rather than wait on this, we're gonna go ahead and share with you the overview of your final. And in an attempt to reduce workload so that we could still cover the content we want to do, we've decided to have you partner up to do your final instead of doing it all on your own. So that will, I think, take the edge off of how much you need to make, while we still kind of cover all of the learning outcomes for the class. Okay. So, let's talk about the final so we can kind of get some questions out of the way. It's going to come to you in a series of 3 parts. All right. You will have your Unreal project shared by your team of one other person and you. You will have your video submission shared with you and your team member. And you will have your portfolio post not shared, you uniquely do for yourself. The parameters of all of that, as we kind of get more detailed, we'll start to pull back, but I don't want to overwhelm everybody like up front. That's a lot of work on the front end, and I think you can kind of see where scale and scope of this can get a little overwhelming. So we're going to kind of ease into what this is going to be. But basically, for the final overview, you are going to do an interior space of modular assets, like I've shown you how to do. And I'm going to show you some more stuff, more cool stuff throughout the quarter that you'll be able to kind of put into your final as we continue. Normally in the past, I like show you how to do all that stuff, and then I show you the final, and then I have you do it. But what we're going to do is let you work on the final as part of the homework of what we're doing throughout the class. So that's another way we're going to kind of double dip. I think that's probably a good idea. The idea here is you're going to have an interior space that it can be anything you want. Inspiration is tricky, so I can give you some tools on how to handle that. Think interior design, movements, or think genres that you really care about. You are going to use modular assets, both models of 3D and materials. You are going to include transparent assets of each type, which you probably don't know yet, but I'm going to show you how to do that. A transparent glass, for example, like window, versus a transparent card, like for foliage. So I'm going to show you how to do those. And it must be rendered in Unreal 5. Can be anything you want. In weeks 8, 10, and 11, you will have some presentation-esque exercises. We'll give you more details on how to do that. No one's going to have to come up here and recite like this. That sucks. Nobody wants to do that. But we will give you some parameters on how you're going to share your work so that you can get feedback and critique as you go. Okay, so, all right, well, we're making an interior space. What else? Well, you're also making a video, 30 to 60 seconds long, showcasing your work. And that is where camera dynamic work is going to come into play, video editing, and lighting and composition. So, you have any questions so far? All right. It's kind of a lot. Like, I'm not going to worry too much about the details of how many assets do you need to make and what it needs to do. What I'm going to advise you to do is to keep the scope small. And we'll pull up some references of some pretty good projects that I think do this really well for your context. But what you're not going to do is build an entire room of space like a giant level, the way you would probably do in 219, but rather control and decide what your shots are going to be, and you're going to prioritize those shots. So the first step that you'll be doing here with your partner, that's any kind of tangible submission, will be a white boxing blockout of your level that we can give you compositional feedback on, especially when you show us how to consider dynamic camera movement and other camera work. Okay, now for today, you have already been given groups. You don't get to pick them. I don't know why I laughed. That was Chris's idea. Well, Chris decided that, you know, the canvas gods will decide for you. And for the most part, that was the case. So I'm going to go ahead and mid-quarter final overview. Ramya, right here. And here's what we're going to do. So this is the group roster. So you can find yourself already with your groups. This is how it's set up in Canvas already. You don't have to do anything. Okay, I see some furrowed brows. I see some scary. Yes? Is there duplicate names? Oh my gosh, there is. I'm so sorry. Here, let me put this up because this is correct. And apparently I did not write it correctly. Urena and... Well, let me fix that. That was supposed to be a tool to make your things easier, not harder. Let me fix that.